Hi there, and welcome back to another episode with your chaotic witchy mama, Haley. Today, I look forward to talking to you about creating a book of shadows, a little bit about why you should, how you can get started, a couple tips and tricks, and what I did and how I got started with my book of shadows or grimoire or witchy diary or whatever you want to call it. Basically, you need a place to write down all of your witchy stuff and to keep it forever and ever. You see, for me, and from what I've noticed, a lot of people have this unrealistic expectation on not only what a book of shadows or grimoire is, but what it's supposed to look like. And on TikTok and Instagram and all the social medias, there are so many beautiful pictures and beautiful videos of people making their super fancy dancy books, and that's fine. But especially if you're just getting started, that's just too much to worry about for me. There was probably a year or two where I did so much research and practiced a bunch of stuff, did, trial and error, but I didn't write anything down. So how do I know what didn't work, right? How do I know what I liked? Or if I think back, I'm like, oh, I did that one spell that one time and that kind of worked. But what did I do exactly? And that is why writing it down is so important. You can look back and reflect on it a week later, a month later, a year later, 10 years later, and see how much your practice has changed, how much it's adapted, how much has stayed the same. Because for me, I've been doing this for 7-ish years or something, officially anyway, and it has changed wildly. And there's so much that has never and probably will never change, and that's just the fun of it. It is so fun to explore. You get to know yourself, and you can kind of play around with it, and it doesn't have to be as aesthetically pleasing as you see in your head when you first get started. When you first get started, it's about just writing down what you need. Even if it's chicken scratch, I have pages that I went back and crossed off an ingredient and added a new one onto it because I did it differently, or I'll add the same spell that is just slightly adjusted on the page behind it because the next time I did it, I changed it, and then I'll write a little note underneath it and be like, well, I liked it better like this, so I'm trying it like this, if that makes any sense. Like when you get grandma's old cookbook, her recipe book, and, there's an original recipe, and then there's her scratching out sentences and adding her input and what she did to make it better. And that's why everyone's like, can't nobody cook like my grandma, because my grandma changed the recipe book and made it unique and made it her own. And that's what I do with my practice. I change everything that I find and learn about. I change it just to make it suit me, and I write it down. And this goes for spells, like spell jars. This goes for homemade recipes. I add a lot of magical and mundane. I say that all the time, but I make a lot of, toothpaste, lotion, diaper cream, body soap recipes, laundry soap recipes. And every time I do that, I write it down, and I always add a piece of magic into it when I'm making it. And then as you do this one piece that's magical, and then you add something else to it that's magical, and then you just add something else. And each time you add a layer of magical onto it, you're raising that particular energy for each step that you do. And it's just so important that if you want to replicate something, to write it down. because you might regret not being able to replicate something. Don't get me wrong. There's probably going to be more things in there that you don't need for a while than things that you do before you can go back and like reorganize it. And I'll get to that too, because mine gets reorganized pretty frequently. But you're probably going to end up with more stuff in there that you're not going to end up using again than stuff that you will end up using again. But when you go back and you reflect and you reorganize, you can have a section or a whole separate book that's going to be like a more finalized version of like, well, this is the one that's like got all my trial and error stuff. And like, this is the one that's going to be my official book. Like, this is my notebook, scrapbook version. And this is like my published version, even if you're never publishing it, but you catch my drift. The aesthetically pleasing one versus the scrapbook looking one that is just thrown together chaotically. Especially if you're as chaotic as me, it might start out chaotic. So, with that being said, that it doesn't need to be aesthetically pleasing, you absolutely can make it aesthetically pleasing, especially if art and, physically making things like mine is part of your craft. So, after about 2 years of writing stuff randomly, chaotically down in random notebooks in random places, I decided to go to the Goodwill and I bought me a 3-ring picture book binder. Probably the best thing ever for this purpose and for the idea in my head that I started with and the idea in my head that it has morphed into. The cool thing about this is, 3-ring binder, all the random notebook paper and notebooks, you can just slip them into this binder wherever you want. And also with it being a picture book, I had those cool sleeves in there that had the clear paper, that would come up and down and you could slip your pictures into it. So I like adding coloring pictures into that, or I will make those into like section separators. So like I will put a picture in one of those slots that I drew or painted or colored from a coloring book that says, this section is tarot. And I'll put a picture about tarot on that front page. And then when you flip past that page is a bunch of tarot stuff. And then when you flip to the next picture page, it's basically like telling you the next chapter or the next section. And then the next section might be recipes. And then that's where you're going to find my lotions and potions and homemade cleaning stuff, right? So that's one easy way to add some flair and make it organized. And my favorite part about this is I can take stuff out and put it back in as I please. I can reorganize it whenever I feel like it. And if there's a page in there that I love, then awesome. And if there's a page in there that I hate, then I can rewrite it and recolor it or do whatever I want to it and put it right back. That is why, in my opinion, this 3-ring binder / picture book version of organizing a grimoire is amazing. I might have to do a TikTok and or YouTube video of like a Book of Shadows tour. I see a lot of people doing that and I'm a little self-conscious about mine, but I'm also kind of cocky about it because, like I said, some parts of it's kind of scary looking and other parts of it's like super cute. And now that I'm thinking about it, I really should just start doing it again. I need to reorganize it. Another really good option is your phone. You can use your notepad app that comes with your phone, or you can download, I downloaded actually like a diary app where I used it for like daily tarot actually. And every day I would read my tarot and I would write in that notepad my first thoughts before I would look up what the cards meant if I didn't know them yet. And then I would, at later dates, go back and take a bunch of, like a week's worth of tarot and write it down from my note diary thing into the notebooks that I've been talking about, so that way I could have a physical copy too, because I just really like having the physical copy. But also with that, you're rereading your old readings, so you are reflecting on if it had happened, if it was true, how accurate it was or not. And with the reflection comes intuition. You learn to trust your gut. Your gut learns to, track patterns and whatnot, and track your theme of thoughts, and helps you transmute them if you're really actually trying. With the intuition comes inner knowing and inner trust. And once you start building that inner knowledge, that inner knowing, that inner trust, you are golden. Because a majority of practicing magic and witchcraft is believing in it and believing in yourself. It's only works if you think it's going to work. It only works if you know it's going to work. That's how it works. And the longer that you are doing this, the longer that you're practicing, the longer that you're working on your book and what you want your book to look like, the more ideals you'll have, the more creativity you'll get, and the more you can, make it more aesthetically pleasing, like the TikToks and the Instagrams. I've been working on my book for like 6+ years, and it's only just now starting to become a little bit aesthetically pleasing. It's still very much got like random chaotic scrapbook mess to it, but there's also a couple sections that are like super cute, and I am in love with them. And that's also could be like a whole nother part of like your craft and creativity. It could be a way to meditate and zone out and organize and color. I have coloring pages in here. I've got like witchy coloring books. One from Amy Cesari. Excuse me, sorry if I am saying that name wrong, but she's got these popular witch planners that are coloring books, and I've got a few of them pages actually that I really liked that I colored, and I have those in my book as well. And you can just do so much with like the picture book version. You can do so much with whatever you want. That's the cool thing about this. Everything is so unique, and everything can be so creative and so you. Working on this book has probably been one of the most important parts of my practice, because I have it written down for myself in the future, for my kids in the future, because I'm raising my kids, as a pagan. Even though my husband's Catholic, we're going to teach them all religions and spiritualities and let them make an informed decision as they grow up on what path they choose to follow. But if they so choose to follow the same or similar path as mine, then I have references on deck. I've got my references. I've got references that I have found. I really love the idea of someday having, like a line of witches. My kids are like, I'm a witch, my mother's a witch, she handed me her grimoire. Like, it sounds cool, right? I would love that. I'm not from a long line of witches. My family's Christian. I didn't really grow up particularly Christian. My parents did the same thing with me, where they're like, you can go figure it out, make your own informed decision, which I love. And that's basically what I got, I guess, for Book of Shadows today. I hope something in there helped, sparked a piece of creativity. Also, yesterday was Easter, so happy Easter, happy Ostara. I hope everybody has a great day. Also, you can find me at The Chaotic Witchy Mama on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You can also email me at The Chaotic Witchy Mama on Gmail. And I look forward to hearing back from you guys. And until next time.